King Vikram and the Vampire, adapted from the original Sanskrit classic of Pandit Somdev Bhatt. Prologue. Long, long ago, in ancient India, there once lived a great king named Vikramaditya. He was popularly known as Vikram. He ruled over a kingdom, and the capital was the city of Ujjain. He was a just king who took utmost care of his subjects. He was extremely popular and loved by one and all. He ruled from his palace and presided over his court every day. Countless people came to him every day with their issues, and he resolved them all. One day, a sage came to his court to pay homage to the king. The sage gave the king a fruit and asked the king to preserve the fruit carefully. The sage said the fruit will keep the king's kingdom prosperous. The king thanked him, and after the sage left, he gave the fruit away to his minister, asking the minister to do the same. To the king's surprise, the sage came day after day and repeated the same action. One day, after the sage left, the king was a bit hungry and decided to eat the fruit. When he cut the fruit, to his surprise, there was a huge gem in the fruit. The king was obviously taken aback. He asked his minister to show him where he had stored all fruits given by the sage. On seeing the fruits, he opened them all. Each fruit contained a huge gem. The next day, when the sage visited and repeated the routine, the king said to the sage that he had not done as requested and had attempted to eat the fruit when he found the huge precious gem in the fruit. He had also found gems in all the fruits he had stored. The sage smiled on hearing this and was not offended. He said to the king that he could give the king many more fruits like this. This would make the kingdom even more prosperous. However, the king will have to help him accomplish this. The king obviously agreed and asked how he could be of help. The sage, on hearing this, said, "On the outskirts of our kingdom, in the deep forest, there is a huge peepal tree. You only need to keep going south in the dense woods, and you will find it, as it is so huge. On the peepal tree, you will find a vampire lying on the branch. You will need to lift the vampire, keep him on your shoulder, and bring him to me. I will await you at the Shiva temple on the outskirts. All this must be done on a new moon night. I need to perform a ritual in the night along with him, and I assure your kingdom all the might and prosperity in this world." The king, with some hesitation initially, agreed on this venture. Couple of days later, he set out with the sage towards the forest on the new moon night. When they reached the outskirts of the city, the sage went towards the temple, and the king proceeded towards the dense, dark forest. The king walked for a long time, going southwards as told. Finally, he came to the tree. He was stunned by the sheer gigantic size of the tree. No wonder, he thought, the sage was so sure he would find the tree. He looked and walked around the tree, and sure enough, he saw the vampire lying on the branch as if sleeping. He looked fierce and dangerous. Being the brave king that he was, he ventured towards the vampire, lifted him, and placed him on his shoulder. To his utmost surprise, The vampire offered no resistance. On walking some distance, the vampire asked the king, "Who are you and where are you taking me?" The king answered that his name was King Vikramaditya and he was the ruler of this kingdom. He further said that a sage had asked him to carry the vampire on his shoulders to the Shiva temple. The vampire laughed and said, "Sure thing, my king. I have heard your reputation. You are a just king who takes care of his subjects. But I have a condition." The king was startled and asked him the condition. The vampire continued, "During the journey, I will tell you a story to pass your time. You will not utter a single word in the journey. In case you speak, I'll fly back to the tree. At the end of the story, I will ask you a question. In case you avoid answering the question or answer wrongly, you might lose your life." The king by now knew that he had no choice but to agree to the vampire. He nodded his head in approval. The vampire seemed pleased with himself and laughed out aloud. He said, "King Vikram, I expect you to keep your word. Now listen to my story."